young parents for a good 25 years. We did not have a whole lot of contact.
Yeah,
But
you
then,
were distracted with other things in life.
yes, we were. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you get together? Okay, are they all local or are they scattered all over the country? Or
One's in California, and one's in New Mexico, and one's in Westminster. And we get together, either all four or some part of that foursome, at least once or twice a year.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
How did these relationships form?
Well, we had things in common, particularly when I was in junior high or high school. We had classes in common. Um, we had an approach to life to some degree in common. And in fact, one of my girlfriends from high school was the first one to take me to Young Life. And
Mm.
and so
Where you found the Lord, right? You
where
found the Lord in high school. I remember that.
I found the Lord in high school. That's correct, when I was
Okay.
16.
I wonder how many of us could claim to have relationships that go back to high school. I don't. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I have a couple of relationships that I no longer have contact with. One that I do, but when I was a young mother, I'd kind of fallen off the rails. I'd had a crisis in my life, and I even after having met the Lord and committed to my life to the Lord at 16, I early 20s, and I'm kind of off the rails.
Hmm.
And I was commuting from Fort Collins to Louisville, and I was commuting with two gentlemen, one who was an ex Baptist preacher, and the other one who was a Church of the Nazarene, and they were probably in their 60s, and I was a captive audience. 3 hours a day I was commuting with them, and they
Hour and a half each way.
hour and a half each way. They loved me back into the kingdom. They listened to me. We chit chatted. They answered my questions, and
Hmm.
ultimately, after about 3 months, I recommitted
Hmm.
my life back to the Lord.
That's interesting. Yeah, knowing a little bit about your story, it wasn't like you just decided that God wasn't cool. You had some things happen to you, and life happened to you. And like
Yes.
for all of us, stuff happens to us. We make our own decisions, and then we have to figure out where God is and all that. Would you say that those 3 hours each day in the car, would you say that that was a form of church that you were experiencing?
That was definitely a form of church that I was experiencing. I didn't know it at the time, and I have no doubt that they were praying for me. Um, but it was definitely a gift from the Lord.
It was this intensive church that you got involved in without knowing you were in a church.
That's correct.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like so much better than um, somebody. If somebody had invited you to church at that time, would you not have likely have gone?
I would have really wondered if I should go. Second situation was that I've recommitted my life back to the Lord. I leave a domestically violent situation with my little daughter, who's 4 years old, and I'm pregnant, and so I'm living in Boulder, and I search out from friends a church, and I happen to walk into an American Baptist church,
Hmm.
who historically are people who are over 40, 45 years old. I
Yeah.
walk in, I'm in my early 20s, and I have my little daughter, and I'm pregnant. And they totally enveloped me into their fellowship.
So you took the big risk. You showed up to a building
Mhm.
with a bunch of strangers,
Yeah,
with a child in tow and pregnant.
yeah.
Um, what was it like walking in those doors? Or fear and trepidation?
There was both. You take a deep breath and say, "Okay, Lord, um, I'm seeking to learn more about you and to
Mhm.
recommit my life to you." And so They just, with no hesitation, welcomed me. They supported me. And ultimately, when I had my child, my baby, my son, they gave me a baby shower. I walk in like 6 weeks before I deliver my son.
Okay. So you're
And
a large pregnant woman at that time.
that's right. My funds were really low, and they created a baby shower for me. And I was in this room of 12 women, and I hardly knew any of their names. And they just showered the love of the Lord on me. And
Do you think they really loved you, or were they just like church ladies who were do-gooders, just taking on a new project?
probably both. Probably both. But I think that I truly feel that the love of the Lord was
They
in
still
them.
loved
Yes. Yeah. And directed that to me. There was a
you.
huge healing that happened with that kind of community.
Hmm. Well, the theme today is what happens after you gather to church. And last week, we're in 3 weeks of community, part of a larger series on about the benefits of living in the kingdom of God. Life begins here. We're wrapping up the whole series with this 3-part focus on community. Last week, we talked about what happens when people gather and the pitfalls or the blessings of that. Today, we're talking about connections and gelling. They just welcomed you in.
That's correct. Yeah.
Did you let yourself be welcomed, or did you hold them at arm's length for a while, or did you feel like you could trust them pretty quick and you just, it's like,